Today we're revisiting the N64. What are we going to do with this N64 today? We're going to do two things. We're going to see if we can get an upgrade to its video output. And then the other thing we're going to do is see if we can make it region free so that it can play any N64 cartridge from any country. That's coming up today on Tech Guy Life. So the N64 has two main types of video output. Composite video output, which is our typical yellow plug that everyone is familiar with. And the other video source is S-video, which was popular for a while and then kind of phased out really quickly, even though the video quality in this is very superior to the video quality in this. But if you lived in Europe or across the, over in England and that, you had access to what was called SCART. And this contained potentially composite and S-video, but also a format of video called RGB. And that's where the red, green, and blue colors were all separated. And the more color separation and the more signals there are in analog video, the potential for better video exists. So with composite, all of the colors, the horizontal sync and the vertical sync, everything is all in one wire. In S-video, the two of them are separated. So the lightness and darkness is separated into one signal, and the colors are separated into another signal, one called chroma and one called luma. So that, again, improves the quality of the video. Then even further was SCART, which gave us RGB, which is red, green, and blue, the individual colors all broken out, which are the primary colors of light, if you didn't know, and also the sync signal. So it's 4 wires of video compared to 2 and 1. If you go back in Nintendo's history, the Super Nintendo, which has this connector here, on the same one as the N64, and I believe the same one as the GameCube, the Super Nintendo had every signal in this cable. So it had S-video, it had composite, and it had the RGB signal. But when we got to the N64, Nintendo decided to remove it. So on certain N64s, you can buy a little chip, and I picked this up as like $20, I think, on Amazon. So this little chip goes on to the video connector and then picks up the RGB and sync signals from individual points on the board and then sends it out the video cable again. You can only use this chip, and this is the cheapest version of it. I picked it up off Amazon, like I said. This is the cheapest and best way to get higher quality video. There's a close-up of the chip there. So there are HDMI mods for the N64, but they are much harder to install. This is just soldering onto existing pins that exist, and then 4 wires is all you need to do. So let's get this N64 opened and see what's inside. So there's no way to be 100% sure about what N64 version you have without opening it up. But here are a couple of the tricks to figure out potentially if you've got an N64 that is compatible with the basic and simple mod for RGB. The first one is the first 4 board revisions apparently can do this. And the easiest way to check on the outside is to look at the serial number. If the serial number starts with NS1, and that's for USA models, or NUJ1 for Japan, and then French, I think, is NUS-001, I think is their number. Yep, according to the Retro RGB website, that is the number. And I will put a link for the Retro RGB website down below, just so you can look up the information yourself and check it out. So if you have a serial number that starts with anything else, or if you have a PAL console, you will have to do one of the more advanced RGB mods in order to get that. You will not be compatible with this. Let's verify. So I have an NS1, so let's hope that this actually is one of the earlier models and that we can continue on with this mod, or it's going to be a very short video. All right, so let's take the lid off. We have to take out the abundance of screws that are in this system. Okay, so once you get the board out, so we took all those out and then took the heat shield off. It is stuck on with some thermal pads, but it should come off fairly easy. So in order to verify if you can do the mod, you have to check the video chip, which is at U4 right here. And it should say VDC-NUS. So we should be good to go with doing the mod on this N64. The version of the chip that I got came with actually pretty good instructions. It's pretty clear on exactly what to do and what to look for. So first we'll do is the first step, which is to put the board on the appropriate pins. So this is the video output connector right here, and it just simply lays on the pins, and then the pins actually come through to the other side of the board, and then that's where we solder them. And you only have to solder the ones that actually have a ring around them. You can actually see them. So there's 3 on top, 3 on the bottom, and then 1 over here. Okay, so I'm just going to put a little flux. That should make this install really simple. Hit it with a little IPA. Give it a little bit of a scrub. Get the extra flux off there. So the kit conveniently came with pre-cut wires. So 1 for red, 1 for green, 1 for blue, and 1 is for the C-Sync signal. But according to the instructions, this group of chips here, if these are populated, apparently this unit is driving the C-Sync signal to the multi-out connector already, and doesn't need to have the wire run from over here to there. But if those chips are not populated, all you do is just run the extra wire, and apparently it is from the R16 spot right there, which hopefully I'll be able to get a good zoomed spot video on that, or maybe a picture. Actually, I'll do that. I'll take some pictures. The red, green, and blue wires just easily go down here to R10, R9, and R8. So really simple. So I'm just going to add some flux down here, and I'm going to tin these spots. We'll put some extra solder on there. So R8 goes at the bottom, and that's red. That one is red. Then R9 is our green. There's the 3 wires connected. So now all we have to do is connect them to the appropriate pads on the chip. There's the 3 wires connected. There's the 3 wires connected. So the package came with a couple of pieces of insulating tape. So I'm just going to put one there to hold the, well, number one, it holds the wires down and then protects the connections. And then the second piece, it goes on top, kind of like that, in order to protect it from shorting, which I don't think it's going to, but now it's nicely protected. All right, so I got to put it back together enough to test. When you do this to test, don't forget to put your jumper pack back in, or your memory expansion, whichever one you have, because if this isn't in here, this won't work, and you'll be, fighting yourself trying to figure out what's wrong when it's really just you forgot to put the memory pack back in or the jumper pack. Now that we have RGB enabled and we have a SCART output, how do we get that onto our TVs? Because our TVs in North America do not have SCART. Pick this up off of Amazon, and it is a SCART to HDMI converter. And this one specifically, you have to find one that will use the RGB input rather than the composite or the S video to make sure that you get the best possible quality. So let's start up my screen capture and let's see how it looks.
It's me, Mario. Hello.
It definitely looks sharper, but the colors seem off to me. And it might just be that these are the right colors, and because composite was so bad, because Mario's skin tone does look correct, and the red looks red and the blue looks blue, but for something something just seems a little off to me. It also seems a little dark. But this isn't our only option for video conversion. I found this, which was not super expensive on Amazon as well. And this is an RGB to component converter. And what this does, you can also get these on AliExpress and stuff like that. They're a little bit cheaper there. But what this will do is it will take this, convert it into analog, the North American sort of RGB kind of standard, which was component video. And depending on how old your TV is, or if it's not a brand spanking new one, or if you've got an old CRT and you want to get the best quality out of it, if you have a component input, that's where this will come in super handy. So let's test this out and see if it looks any better. I have it connected to another of these units. I have one just over off to the side. It's got a mess of cables, so it's kind of hard to put on screen at the same time. But let's see what kind of picture quality we get from it. I'm just going to start my video capture, and here we go.
It's me, Mario. Hello.
That looks 1,000 times better, in my opinion. The colors are bright. They look correct. And it's very sharp. Very, very sharp image. All right, let's do a little comparison of the three video sources side by side by side. And the biggest thing you're going to notice is the detail of the letters. The composite is very blurry and soft and mushy. And the S video, the detail gets a little bit better, but the edges are still rather jagged. Specifically, if you look at the S, you can see very large blocks along the curve of the S. And then when you go over to the RGB, they're much smaller and much more detailed and much sharper and cleaner lines. So that is the main difference in the three different video formats. I don't know if that means anything to you, but I really like the look of the RGB, but also the S video is very good too. Okay, so now that we've confirmed that the output is working, let's go ahead and get it put back together, and we'll do the one last internal mod that I want to do to this N64. The last thing I want to do is I want to make this thing region free. And the only thing that stops it from being region free is this cartridge slot piece. So I'll do a demonstration first. So let's put this on the Nintendo, on the N64. Plug in some power. Actually, I don't even need to plug in power. I just need a cartridge that is not from North America, which I have right here. This is a Japanese copy of Super Smash Brothers. So if I try to put this into the cartridge slot in a North American console, it will not go all the way down. And that is because of these cutouts. You can see that they are different. Now, that's a terrible example. Boy, is that ever a dirty copy of Super Mario 64. There, we'll use this copy of Rogue Squadron. So you can see that the cutouts in the case are different for Japanese consoles and for North American consoles. All we have to do is change this in order to make it region free. And it is super simple. There are 2 screws holding it in, and that lets you remove this tray. So you can either A, take it upon yourself to cut these out, or so you can cut these 2 plastic pieces out, or what you can do, which is rather simple, is you can 3D print a new slot, which I did right here, that has no things in it to stop it from working. So all I have to do is take this, put it in there, so now when we do this, and I take my Japanese copy of Super Smash Brothers, it will actually go all the way into the console now. So let's try it out. Let's put this together the rest of the way and give it a go. So you may be asking yourself, why would I want to region free my console? Well, it depends on your situation, I guess. If you took a trip to Japan and you brought back a whole bunch of games, because I will tell you something, just from what I've seen, not from my own practical experience, you can get games for a lot less over there than they do cost here. And it depends on the game too. So like, if it's got a lot of reading in it, you probably don't want a Japanese version of it unless you actually know Japanese. But something like this one here, Super Smash Brothers, which I love the logo on the Japanese cartridge. It's so much cooler. It doesn't have a whole lot of words. It's just a fighting game. So you can get through this without having to, without really needing to know Japanese. So when I first tried this, it actually didn't work. The cartridge just didn't come on, but it just needed some cleaning. And if you need to know how to clean cartridges, I have a video on where I clean a bunch of Nintendo cartridges here. It'll be here or maybe here. I don't know. It'll be in one of these corners. And the process applies to all cartridges, whether it be N64, Nintendo, whatever. But again, you need a game bit driver. It's the small one for cartridges, big ones usually for consoles. So there's the opening title screen of Super Smash Brothers in Japanese, but yet still press start is in English, which is kind of cool. And then this is pretty much the same between the North American version and the Japanese one. They don't even change, like they translated on the bottom for the Japanese as opposed to putting it in the actual screen. And even this screen is completely English as opposed to Japanese. Mario. Lead. 3, 2, 1, go! So again, like the Super Smash Brothers example is actually a very good one because this cartridge in Canada costs about $60 something, $65 on eBay versus about 44-ish, I think it is, US. But yet you can get the Japanese version for $16 Canadian. Even cheaper is like $15.99 Canadian from a Canadian dealer, or I can order it from Japan for $7 for the title screen and everything else being pretty close to the same, and you don't really need to know the Japanese in order to play the game. What a bargain. Holy, you can just save all kinds of money buying Japanese versions of games. And there's also a lot of Japanese games that never came to North America, so this is a good way of playing them too. So you can save money and play more games, which is exactly what the world should be about. All right, to sum up, we made our console region free so we can play our Japanese copy of Super Smash Brothers now. We added an RGB video output so we can get better video quality out of this console. And again, remember, I'll put a link for Retro RGB's site about this mod down below, but only certain N64s can do this. They have to be early models. And then we found out that the SCART to HDMI converter that I found on Amazon, not the best. It was okay, but definitely did not look the best. Better was this component to, or RGB to component. It also has VGA. It also converts VGA to component, which is good for the Dreamcast. But in terms of converting the SCART to component, that looked great. It looked really, really, really good in my opinion. And I am so glad I got this box. And it also has potentiometers on it so that you can, oh, sorry about the lights. So it also has potentiometers on it so you can adjust the color for how you like it. And that's great. These are about 40 bucks or so off Amazon, 40 bucks Canadian. So, you know, $5 American probably. And you can also get them off of AliExpress and order them from China. And eBay's got them as well. So they're available all over the place and they work pretty well. I really liked how it made the picture look. If you don't have a component into your TV, you will have to get a component to HDMI converter, which aren't too bad. And there's lots of other options out there. There are all kinds of retro scalers that will take the SCART input and convert it into HDMI or something else for you. So there are some more expensive options out there, but I wanted to do something that was the least expensive options, which were the HDMI box and this box. And there's also a scaler that you can build yourself. I've never tried to build it, but maybe I will now. So anyway, that's it for this video. We'll see you in the next one. If you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. And that's it for this week. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.